Guys, Michelle here from Andalery Gardens. Today I'm going to take you on a tour up the driveway and just chat about the left-hand side of the driveway. That's not an area that I am focusing on too much right now, as I've made a promise that I want to get the right-hand side of the driveway sorted and put to bed, so to say, before tackling the left hand side. But certain things, like if we want to relocate plants on that are in the right hand side, then we might want to put them on the left. So certain things work in tandem. So that's the entrance to the property. This property is about 6 hectares, so there's a lot of undeveloped property. There's also large sections, as in on the pipeline video, where the cows graze, where one would look at very simplified kind of planting. So as you come in by the driveway, this is where I would like to, down the line, do a reflexology garden under the trees in a grassy lawn with very simple plantings, like a xeriscape kind of feel, where there's maybe 5 or 6 different sort of plants that are used, but vast expanses of them, things that grow easily, that will self-seed themselves. In the background there, I don't know if one can see really, there's lots of evening primroses, so they seed themselves like crazy. Even this sort of wild grass, which is quite nice and cool, it's quite tall. I did want to keep the palette very, very easy on the eye, so maybe like the soft grasses, crassula, because we have lots of that seeds itself like crazy. Look at the evening primrose, and we've got a little buddy inside there. Wait for it to clear. Isn't that cool? Very, very cool. Yeah, they seed themselves everywhere. So plantings of that, and then use the ferns, which they are an invasive species, but they stay in their own area. They just creep very, very slowly. So we will make use of that, as that will work for a xeriscape field. So this section doesn't have a hedge up yet, so we do need to put a hedge up come autumn. There's lots of elderberry bushes out behind the house where the cows graze, which I want to dig up and then plant along here, and then just leave an entrance through to this section of the garden. So this hedge is going to run along the whole length of the driveway, but the hedge will change as we go from garden to garden. So this section is not really going to be a hedge per se, but it's blocking your view through to the gardens, which is what we're sort of looking at. So the ferns will just run along, and then all the greenery and stuff at the top. I might need to relook at what greenery we've got over here. Things like that pampas grass and that big sisal plant should really come out. This is a ficus tree, which is, yeah, that grows huge, it grows big, so this is not the right place for it. Those are seedlings that popped up there. So the hedge changes. Behind here, there's a huge big one of these ficus trees, where the idea was to have this very deep, dark shade garden. There's lots of little old glass fiber ponds there, which maybe we could sort of try and like clean out and maybe get them working again. So the hedge changes then to the crassula hedge. I actually did video the process of doing this crassula hedge last year, about July or so. These are crassulas that we just dug up from, well, they were just seeded themselves everywhere, and yeah, we dug them all up, and we had to support, especially the big ones, we had to support them quite well. So, but they're settling in nicely, and hopefully they're setting root as they're looking perky. Shame they stood after they were dug up, they were outside for probably 2 weeks, if not even longer. So they were looking very sad and very wilted. It took them a long time to actually perk up again, but they're perking up. The hedge is very sparse now, but it will fill out, and then you won't see behind so clearly, as it's very, very untidy behind. This is also why I want to get the hedge in position and growing, that it bides us time to tackle the stuff behind, but yet the garden will still look neater until we get to that side. Behind this hedge is going to be a kiddie's garden with rolling hills and maybe a trampoline, and there's lots of half balls that are packed there. They were reject half balls which I've packed there as a balancing, like sort of a long snaking caterpillar that would run between. There's eugenias behind there that we want to clip, sort of like simplified people, sort of boxy shaped people. That's sort of the ideas there. Clary's idea. Maybe Clary's the one. That's my youngest daughter that shows a bit of interest in the garden. Might be the one that will sort of develop this side more so than me, but things change as we go, so we just go with the flow and trust in the good Lord. So then we have a gap where I do want to put Eugenia hedge and leave a gap. That's a Eugenia hedge there, but for now I want to keep it open, that if we need to get a big vehicle in to do shredding and clearing in the back when we eventually get started up, then it'll be able to get in and a little bit closer. So for this open section, we were looking at a moonlight garden, possibly maybe some kind of big water feature, and we've got lots of glass fiber pillars which would be part of that moonlight garden. It would maybe be a bit of a formal garden with a bit of a pond, and then possibly going into a more of a natural sort of a moonlight garden. So let me just take you peekaboo through here, because we can't see much through this hedge. This is very untidy there. That building there, when I was very young, when we first moved to the property, that used to be a little wooden old house where we lived in. There was no water at that stage, no municipal water. That house burnt down and then that was built, but that's a very dilapidated. Maybe one of the girls will want to fix it up and live in there, or that might become a future tea garden, but that's still ideas that are busy brewing. So yeah, it's very untidy in there, but hopefully we'll show you that, God willing, down the line when we reach that side. Okay, so let me turn you around here. Okay, there we are at the end of the strolling garden. That's up to the house there. The hedge, the eugenias, they seed themselves everywhere. The eugenias is actually beautiful. When they've been cut back, they get this lovely reddy bronze foliage. The new growth is very cool. Certain time of the year, this whole hedge is like this lovely bronze color. So we're coming up to the front of the house. It's the front door there. There's hardly anybody that uses our front door. Most of the people use our back door. Our front, I can probably count on both my hands how many times through the years we've actually used the front door. So things like this will need to be simplified, so maybe we'll get rid of this yucca. We'll have to poison it, as digging it up is going to be, that's going to be a big task. And possibly just put some little Eugenia seedlings at the bottom just to grow up and sort of cover it. That crassula, that we'll just try and get out and relocate that elsewhere. This whole pot wall, this will go, so that we just have hedge simple to the opening, some beautiful gate, and then hedge continuing up to meet that. That way it'll simplify everything and keep it a little bit more peaceful. This gives you an idea of the building more from this side. It's a fair-sized building, probably about it's a good few square meters. Will actually make quite a cool tea garden. So it's the front of the house. It looks very bare, so we might possibly contemplate some nice soft grasses along the front as just a narrow little bed. The ferns we will move to the bottom where the reflexology garden is, and then maybe some pots over there against that curved wall. Then it's also a distance from these ones, so there's no competition and too much clutter. Let me take you through this little arch. This is my mom's little moonlight garden. Let's check for spiders. Don't want to be bitten by the spiders. I was thinking about a certain area of the garden I need like a web whacker. Some kind of big stick that I can, I don't know if you can really see that we can beat our paths open before we go through. So look how pretty that is. All the vincas, like stars in the night sky. There goes Butchie. There's a few little pink vincas which have managed to seed themselves here, which we need to take out. Look how cool that is. Is that not cool? So pretty. And then you can go through on that side. So let's go back out again. Let's go back out again. My pot people, I do like my pot people. I do like them very much. Okay, so now as we come up to the edge of the hedge, the end of the hedge, then let's take you on this side first, then I'll pan you around. So yeah, in this vast open area is where I would like to, the cows have come to graze. They come every couple of months, the cows come. So they've literally come this morning a few hours ago. It's actually quite cool to see all the cows. They're such wonderful four-legged lawn mowers to keep the grass short on that side. So where the cows are walking, that is the pipeline area. So we will never do an extensive garden there so that the cows can continue grazing. The cows are neighbours' cows from the area, further up about a K or so away. So this vast open area here, it's a nice flat level area. This is where down the line, God willing, we can put up a structure and have a retail nursery, and maybe the tea garden is here, maybe it's in the other building, not quite sure. Also ideas just brewing. We just take things one step at a time and think up ahead about, okay, what might we want to plant here that can start getting established. So on this side, where all the growth is, there's a log wall that I started. That was when the berry hedge was tall, and then they cut it down and they left all the berry trunks here, the Eugenia stumps. So I want to do a patchwork wall starting there by the edge, the end of the hedge, and then run right to the bottom to the fence there where the gate is. So the patchwork wall is going to be a very natural wall. Logs may be stacked that way, more logs in an upright position, sections of reeds maybe where you've got a thinner upright position. We've got lots of vases, reject vases, and the reject square pots, which might also form sections of the patchwork wall, and then there'll just be a nice big arch somewhere within that wall, which will lead through to the gardens on that side. Now the gardens on that side, there's lots of big established trees and some big plants here and there, but also lots of other stuff growing there. So we're thinking of tropical gardens down the line, sort of running behind the building and behind the kids' garden section. So as we pan around, then we're at the back of the house where the cars park. This bed, I do want to get rid of this bed to make it easier for big vehicles to turn, big vehicles that might come to collect pots, or we've had a big vehicle in the past that brought us fencing, vehicles such as the ones that come and empty the septic tanks. Those kind of vehicles, they need a little bit more room to turn. So if this bed were gone, it would just make it easier. So we will need to relocate a lot of these plants. This would go to the reflexology garden, as we would need a lot of that still to fill in bare gaps. There's already a lot there. That's the tipuana tree that I don't know if it'll take a move, but I'm hoping it will. Things like those pots will go to maybe the Treasure Cove garden. They will be quite cool there. So there's the carport. That's the entrance through to Mom's little moonlight garden. Things like that would need to come away. We don't want that over here, but that's certain things like the vinkers which we could bag up as well. So there's more pot people. We might make a couple of changes, simplify things. There's all that flat little sort of bird bath top has just got seashells in, and further up there's rocks and stuff like that. So that kind of thing I want to move away, as the little ground cover is a bit too rampant, and these window boxes, from the sake of simplifying things, I also want to move away. This is mint, and if any of you know mint takes over the whole world if you give it half a chance. But in the right place, it serves its purpose. So again, these would need to be moved. There is rocks over there. We would need to clip this mint back. In these little window boxes are little ornamental garlic chives, the variegated ones, so they might go to the labyrinth. There you can see there's lots of beautiful little rocks. There's Rose Bunny watching us through the window. So that would go to the Treasure Cove. So that's in the garage. There's lots of clutter in the garage, so maybe even down the line that becomes a video before and after, where we've cleared the clutters. This is also part of bringing things to its full potential, getting rid of things and just opening up the space. When things are cluttered, your mind is cluttered, you can't think clearly. When things are organized and neat and tidy, and everything has a home, and things just look good, then one feels like one can tackle anything. It feels like you can gobble up the elephant in one go. It really does free up your mental space and bring in clarity. So this section that we're looking at now, this is where I want to do the propagation area. So we'll have retail behind those trees, and then propagation. Retail down that is down the line. We go one step at a time. So propagation, for now. I will show you that in a little bit more in-depth video, where we'll look at the space a bit closer. So then we're coming up to the area where the pots are kept and made. You can see there's we need like a place to put this trailer where it's not all overgrown. But we need, the weeds just take over. I did try spraying them, but it doesn't work. But this area too, we'll video this in a neater phase at another stage when we eventually get there. So they make the pots behind there. So this is very Diamacaria, very untidy. There's soil. Naughty me that hasn't used that. That's why the bags are rotted away, but I'll be using that when we start the the propagating. So these are a lot of repurposing doing here again. These came from the factory when the factory was still in Uitenhage. We'll use them for pavers. Some of these came from my brother-in-law's place, so he had his wall replaced, so there's lots of clutter here which needs to be sorted. Then we come up for my geyser was replaced, so Seaton wants to make a bra out of the old one. We're coming up for the wash line area. Yeah, on the left hand side is where all the molds are kept. This used to be a tennis court. Well, it still is a tennis court, but it's very dilapidated. We haven't used it in years. When I was little, we used to play tennis on it quite a lot. So we're now coming up for the kitchen area, outside the kitchen area. Let's go this way first. That is gutters that I put up, wanting to put strawberries, but yeah, they just dried out too quickly, so that wasn't very successful. But I thought the gutters could be very good if we repurpose them as little areas for the succulents to root, leaves and things like that. So I might be moving this to a cooler area, and we have lots more, so that should work quite well. So there's a pergola that has fallen down. The poles rotted, so we need to either put it up or just take it down all together. That grape, I'd like to relocate the grape, and then we can decide on the cherry guava whether to keep it or not. So if we pan around and give you a more fuller view, these are veggie boxes which we put in years and years ago. So it's high time to get cracking in this area of the garden. I want to change these boxes I want to make them into self-watering boxes. I have the plastic, had the plastic for ages and ages. I just haven't gotten down to lining them with the plastic. This was when we redid the roof. We had all the beams, because the roof was lifted, so the beams were put to good use making veggie boxes. Might contemplating put another 2 more down the line, but we'll start with these first and see how the veggie process works and get cracking on that, because I am new to veggies and things like that. But this is the year that I need to get started with that kind of thing. So here's all the old gutters, down pipes that we want to use as part of the self-watering system. There's lots of plants here that need to be rehomed, some of them into the production garden. That big one is a speckworm that came from my mom-in-law's place. She didn't want it anymore, so we took it out. That you can use that, it has medicinal purposes. There's a dragon fruit, prickly pear that my sister gave. There's other fruit trees here. There's an apple, there's a naughty grape that's climbing up the apple tree. There's a quince, there's a peach, apricot. There's things that just need to get in the ground. There is lots of things that need to get in the ground. Here is this area I want to simplify. It needs major simplifying. We need to get rid of a lot of clutter and just have a tiny little table and chairs and one pot just to declutter. So a lot of these succulents and that I will be moving to the treasure cove. These gardens I'd like to do down the line, maybe a little craft shack thing in tandem with a tea garden, and maybe have little garden workshops. Those are sort of the ideas and the visions for up ahead. So all those little pots and that were just, they collected from the markets. I love to go to the markets. One finds such little treasures at the markets. So those things were all bought at the markets, market finds. There's lots of rocks that I've picked up through the years, which will be going to the treasure cove. You see those little setups, they will also go to the treasure cove. Things on buckets. So yeah, lots of clutter here, which needs sorting out, and plants which need getting in the ground and in pots. So if we head off in that area beyond the palm tree, then that will take one to the production garden. So that just gives you an idea of how things sit in relation to one another. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Go well. God bless. See you in the next video.